All right, what I'm going to be talking about here today is mentors, peers, and mentees, or mentos, or that sort of thing, and not the candy that you have that Foo Fighters have in their videos. They actually a funny random story. I love music and I love the stuff about music, and they had a video that had Mentos in it, and they actually had to request people in the crowd to stop throwing Mentos on the stage. So you think about some bands, they get like drugs are thrown on the stage or clothing or whatever, and these guys actually had to request that Mentos not be thrown on the stage because they were hitting band members, and it hurt. And so one of my first memories with Brian actually out on tour, ironically enough, was we were in Colorado at a oh sure I don't know, somewhere way out west. And for some reason, he had Mentos on stage. Hey, Revy. And in the middle of the show, he's playing. He walks up to me and hands me a Mento and gives me a big thumbs up and turns around and keeps playing and walks back. And like all the people that were on the side of the stage were looking at me like, who in the world is that guy that Brian head walks up to him and gives him a Mento? That's insane. And so yeah, Brian gave me a Mento. That's a good story. I haven't thought about that for a number of years. So we're in the midst of this complete change and complete insanity in our lives here, and it's amazing stuff. They talk about how the most stressful points in your life will be when you have a kid, when you get married, a death of a family member, when you move, when you start a new job, those types of things. Well, we've had a death in the family. Sarah's grandmother passed away a couple weeks ago. We're moving here in a couple months. We started a new business. We sold a business. We're managing other businesses, and we're changing schools. We're changing homes. We're selling our home. We're doing all that stuff all right now. And if it wasn't for my mentors, my peers, and my mentees, if it wasn't for my three levels of people that I have around me, I don't know how well I would actually be able to handle it. And a gentleman, Kevin Grove, he actually works with us in our merchant processing company, and him and I are starting to develop a really cool relationship. And he asked me the other day, he's like, Matt, how do you do it? And my initial answer was I delegate. All right. So I'm getting better at delegating things instead of actually having me try to attempt to complete everything that's on there. And the secondary thing of that is the people that I have around me. My support structure is how I do a lot of stuff, and why I'm always running and I'm always pushing towards things and I'm always pushing the boundaries on things. It's because of how I was raised, and it's because of the support system that I have. So that being said, mentor, peer, and mentee. So I actually took some notes, which is my typical thing as I'm thinking through stuff here. And so I'm going to kind of look at these here. So the other way of looking at it is a father, brothers, and sons, or mothers, sisters, and daughters, or mothers, sisters, and sons. It doesn't really matter how you mix all these together. I use the word father quite a bit, interchangeably with mentor all the time. Same thing with peer and brother or sister. Same thing with mentee and sons or daughters, because I have both, and I have all through every realm of stuff. And my mom's not here anymore. She passed away 14, 15 years ago, right around there. And so I don't have her around anymore, but the legacy that she instilled in me and the wisdom that she instilled in is still feeding today, still feeds into me today. So she's still a mentor of mine today, as well as that I'm able to pass that on to my kids. So let's talk about fathers first. And this is where people get into trouble is, again, we've talked about it before, but if you start out early, like we did in our business, we didn't tell anybody. Yeah, December of 2005. Yeah. So 14 and a half years here. If you don't, our problem when we were starting out was we wanted to be secret because we were fearful that if we told people what we were doing with our business or in our personal lives, that it would negatively impact our business. And that was a bad thing. So I didn't have any fathers then at that point. I definitely didn't have any peers. I didn't have anyone that I was really talking to. And I didn't have a son yet at that point either. And I was only 24, 25 years old. So I was not to the point of wisdom, that my gray hair affords me today, 15 years later. But fathers are there, or mentors. So people like here that are in this group, we're here to drive you, right? We're here to guide you along, to push you, to challenge you, right? We're always expecting more and more and more and more out of you. I was talking with some parents yesterday at a meeting for a school, and they want their kid to be motivated. They want their kid to achieve the next level. And what I told them, I said, yeah, that's great, but understand that level always continues to go. It's another level. Once you've achieved that level, you got to go to the next level. Once you achieve that level, you got to go to the next level. And so you're always pushing for more. Your kid never gets to sit back and just relax, never gets to just take their time with stuff. So fathers are there to challenge. They're there to encourage the kids, right? The ones that they have below them, it's that, we're always trying to raise them up. We're always trying to pull our kids forward, right? Or my mentors are always there trying to drive me forward and pull me forward, because they're sitting there going, Matt, there's more to you. There's more to life. There's more to this experience. There's more that you can get to people. They never let me just sit back and just be comfortable and stay where I am for long periods of time. Yeah, now there's periods of rest, but they're always pulling me forward. And we use this quite often. My dad and I do, and I use it with my kids and with other people around me, is fathers are intended, or mentors are intended to build a ceiling, right, or a roof for their home that you get to come in and stand on top of. So if your mentors are always these people that are looking down on you, right, that they're always in this position that you were behind them, you were underneath them, you were trying to catch up with them, then they're not doing their job. Yeah, you're supposed to pull people forward, you're supposed to push them forward, that type of thing. And I guess that's actually the better analogy right there, is you're pulling somebody forward as a mentor, but you need to be working always on the shift of then pushing them beyond you. So that's a great analogy, or a great thought process, is your mentor is there to pull you, become your peer, and then push you beyond, so that you almost become into that mentor realm for them, or that you're to the level that you're mentoring other people as well. And so therefore you might outgrow a mentor. If you never outgrow a mentor, it's either they are the most amazing, incredible person in the world like me, and they are always pushing and always fighting and always running as well, or they're not a true teacher. They're there to get your money, right? I was reading a thing the other day, where the average mentorship site costs $5,000 a year. Annual cost is $5,000. Well, we have 269. That'd be $1.4 million that I would be getting if I was charging $5,000 per person. That is amazing. I never have to work again. I literally just get paid to sit here and talk all day long. But we don't, right? We're doing this for free. And the reason we're doing it for free is because, again, we're trying to pull people along and then be able to push them beyond us as well. If the story ends with me just bloviating into the screen, a couple times a week, I'm not gaining anything, but I want to be able to rejoice in your guys' success. I want to be able to share that and flourish through that process and watch what you guys are doing, because that's exciting for me. So I am always trying to push beyond. My kids are going to stand on my ceiling all the stinking time. I'm always lifting them, right? I am always pulling them along, but we'll get to the kids here in a second. So your mentor should be like the general in the army, right? They're directing traffic. They're telling you where to go. But you know what? That general will either get killed in battle, or they will retire, right? Or they will move on. So they're always working themselves out of a job and bringing somebody else along with them as well. So that's something that a great mentor does. And that's what we do at our company. That's what I've done at every single company I've ever had. That's what I do at my family. I do with my friends. We're always working ourselves out of a job. We are always training somebody. Why? Because I'm not going to be here forever. And if everything that's inside my head and all my experiences are dead when I'm gone, that's a very, very bad thing. So I'm always, all my therapists, I'm always trying to train them in the techniques that I know, the thought processes that I go through when I'm going through an exam, when I'm thinking about a headache treatment patient, anything like that, I'm always trying to encourage and educate not just the information, but also the application. On our website, we're going to be having that delineation. We're going to kind of get rid of the blog format and get into the education and application format. So we're not, again, just bloviating information out there, but there's an education component, right? There's a difference between information, education, and application. Information is literally, this is a mug, right? Application education is, all right, this is how you use the mug, right? Application, though, is what do you put in the mug, in which case, then what do you put in yourself to make yourself better, right? There's a 3-level part to that whole thing. And as a father, that's what I have to do. As a mentor, that's what I have to do, is I'm here, and I need to get on this page more often, but I need to be making sure that I'm pushing people forward all the time. Brothers, peers, sisters. Oh, so one more thing about fathers is the other mistake, not just at the beginning of life or the beginning of, so here's the joke. When your kid is in high school, they're like, your parents are idiots. They don't know anything. And then they go away to college and they come back and they're amazed at how much their parents learned in the last 4 years. And so, but the concept, coffee is what you put in a mug. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually drinking tea. I use Throat Coat by Yogi, Yogi, and then I put honey in it as well, non-filtered organic honey. I learned that from Jonathan Davis from Korn. That's what he uses before he goes on stage, and actually when he's on stage is Throat Coat tea with honey. And so I learned that from him because I talk a lot, and that's pretty much my job, and so my throat just kind of gets worn out, especially with these allergies that we're having through Nebraska right now. But sorry, I got way off on that one. Anna, that's your fault. And so one thing is, when we're young, we don't want to have mentors. We think we know it all. The problem is, on the flip side, is when we're old, or when we get older, or when we get in a place of business or life that we think that we've achieved a lot, then we don't have mentors as well. And that's where you actually see there's a lot of people around the world that get in trouble there, right? I was watching or reading the book. Let's see, do we have it here? Yeah. So, Power of Habit. Okay. They talk about people breaking down in that book, and people not achieving things, or failing, right? You have a surgeon who has an affair that's, later, they're the top surgeon in the world and they're having an affair, or they're a star athlete, or they've reached the pinnacle of their career, and then they get busted for drugs or whatever, have a DUI, they fall. And the reason, in my mind, that, they talk about, habit and, abilities, tolerance, activity, all sorts of different things, fatigue levels. And what I actually think that I attribute it back to is that they don't have enough fathers in their own lives. They don't have those people that they are accountable to, that are looking at them saying, listen, you got to do better in this area of your life. You need to check yourself in this area of your life. Hey, Ryan. And so as a father, that's what we have to do, is we have to make sure that we are pulling, right, and pushing. And that we have people then in our life that are pulling us along and always pushing us along. We got to have both sides of that all the time. So brothers compete, right? Ryan and I didn't really compete a whole lot growing up. I don't think, he was 3-4 years older than me. And so, I don't think that there was a lot of competition between us. He might argue with that, in which case then he's competing with me. So actually, probably along those lines, we probably had mental arguments or mental competitions as we were going along. But brothers will go to battle with you, right? They're that one, and I love the analogy with Roman soldiers or with the Spartans, right? They have a sword and a shield. And the shield, or the sword, is for your protection. The shield is for the protection of your brother. So that's the part of the point of the brotherhood, is that you are protecting them, but you're fighting as well. You're fighting alongside of them. And so there's somebody that will pick you up but they'll also call you on your crap. Okay. So like if I falter, my brother's going to be one of those people that's going to pick me up. He's going to be like, dude, yeah, I know you're struggling, blah, 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 but you're better than that. You didn't need to make that mistake. You're better than that. And that's the difference between accountability versus accusations, right? An accusation, man, he's like, man, you suck. Like what is wrong with you? And so, but the brothers are going to come along, the sisters are going to come along, and they're actually going to build you up. They're going to pick you up and be like, yeah, you failed. That was a stupid move, but you're better than that. And that's why it's a stupid move, is because you're so much greater than what you just exhibited. And so that's what you need brothers to do, is to call you on your garbage and then drive you to greatness, right? You think about a vehicle, and you definitely don't want to be on the hood of a vehicle, right? You don't want to be being pushed forward. You don't want to be drugged behind the vehicle. You want to be in the vehicle with that person. So they're driving you to greatness. They're driving you forward. It's a co-mingling. It's a co-sponsored activity that you guys are doing together. So fathers are building a house for you to stand on their ceiling. Brothers build a house with you and invite sons in, right? So it's a process of building the home. Mentors already have the home built. Brothers are building that up. Sisters are building that up. And if you don't have sisters in your life, people that are going to be able to jump in, iron sharpens iron, right? It says, somewhere in the Bible that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but, a stern word from a brother is safer than a sword, right? In the hands of an enemy, or something along those lines, right? It's I can trust Ryan's word. I can trust Jonah's word. I can actually trust Anna's word. I can trust Revi's word, because I have relationships with all of them to a degree that I can trust their word. They're going to call me on my stuff, but they're going to drive me forward, and we're going to go forward together there. So your fellow soldier, or your brother in arms, just that 300 Spartan thing, right? You're locked in. You're doing battle together. So sons, you have to have sons as well. You have to have Macon, Georgia. I would like to take that. That's our guy from Macon, Georgia. What I've also seen as a father, looking with my kids, is that it's not about the quantity of time that I spend with them. Okay, I think that's a myth. As we've gotten older, we've kind of come out of this generation of the 40s and 50s where the fathers were absentee. They weren't really around. Kids are silent. They're seen but not heard. And then we've come over to this other ditch where fathers and parents have to dote and just kind of consume their lives with their kids, right? So we're just going to go around, and everything I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed into my kids, because my life gets kind of put on hold until they graduate, until they move on, and then I will, experience life with them. And I don't think that's a reality. I don't think that's a healthy reality. I think the healthy reality is quality over quantity. So I may not spend all the time with my kids, but if I can focus on my kid, my daughter, is really into playing catch right now with the football. So we go out in the yard and we play catch for 15, 20 minutes and have fun. We laugh and we, exude energy and joy, and that fills her love tank. So I don't have that book here. It's packed up already, but it's, the 5 love languages. If you don't know your love languages, then you don't know how to show, like how you're showing people love, and you don't know how you're getting and receiving love. So check that book out as well. But with my kids, I am always looking and fighting and pushing for quality, right, instead of quantity. I don't need to spend hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah, there's periods for that. We call that vacation, right? We go out, we're isolated. We're going to go up to Colorado. We're going to go hiking and mountain climbing, and we're going to do all this kind of stuff. And there's going to be an intensity to that moment. But on a day-to-day basis, it could be my car ride to school with my daughter every single morning. I make that a priority, that I can go and drop her off at school, because it's very, very important for me to set the standard for her day moving forward, and then give those words of encouragement and guidance and wisdom and laughter and joy, and I feed into her, because your kids observe. Your kids, your sons, your daughters, the mentees, the people that you're pulling up along you, they observe everything that you do. They learn all of your stuff, right? You're good and you're bad. They're going to learn from you. They're going to watch what you do and how you do it, and they're going to learn from you. It's also their their role is to question, right? So if you have a mentee, right, if you're kind of meeting with somebody and they don't come with a huge list of questions all the time, either they're fearful of you or they're not thinking clearly. They're not thinking deeply enough about life, and they need to really focus on themselves for a period of time. They need to go and listen to our podcast and listen to these other things so that they can come along and actually figure out who they are, so they know what questions to ask. I've taught my kids how to ask questions and what questions to ask at the right time. And so my kids question me, and we learn nonstop, and I give them wisdom anytime that I can, nonstop. They also desire your attention. Okay, this is a strange one for me that I learned actually as an adult, and then I've applied it to my kids. Is I want to be pursued by my parent. So that's a really strange thing. But I realize that looking back as a kid, yeah, I could go out and ask my parents, say, hey, do you want to hear this song? They'd say, yeah, absolutely, play this song, right? And I'd play the song for them, on guitar or something that I'd written or something. And that was great. But how much greater is it if they would come up to me and say, Matt, can you play me a new song? Can you play me that one song that you just did that one time? Can you go and play that for me? And if they did that, how much greater? So I learned that as an adult. I actually need my father to pursue me. I want him to call me, right? I don't want to be the thing where I have to, say, hey, Dad, I'm calling you all the time. He says, oh, I don't want to call you because I think you're busy. Well, man, my dad calls me. I will put aside what I'm doing so that I can talk with that man and just hear his voice for a period of time. So I want to be pursued. Our kids want to be pursued, and we need to pursue our mentees as well, right? We need to seek them out and say, simple word, how are you doing today, right? What's going on today? You got anything important coming up? Anything that I could be thinking about, right? It's pursue, pull on them, right? Pull the stuff out of them, because they don't even know what they're capable of at that point. And they will follow in your steps. The unfortunate part about society and about generational stuff is, and I've seen this constantly throughout the last 10 years of working in the public school system, is it's very, very hard for a kid to break the cycle of their parents and of their grandparents. We see the generational stuff. I've been there for 10 years. So now the kids that I was treating at the end when they're in high school, now they're having kids. And I'm seeing how their kids are being raised. And it's this cycle that continues to unfold itself all the time. And so we were blessed enough that my parents came along and they broke a lot of cycles out of our family, right? That I've had to observe in our nieces, or not our nieces, but my cousins and their kids. And you see the same cycle repeating in family members when our parents did the hard work, and then I come along and I'm trying to do even the harder work. So an example that I use with for my kids is, dry throat, is they've never had pop, okay, ever, pretty much in their life. Yes, Haley has had it a couple times. If we're flying and her stomach's a little queasy, then if we need to, she can have a Sprite or something. But it's it's pretty darn small in 13 years. But I don't have to worry about alcohol, right? I don't have to worry about them abusing that at this point, right? What I'm worried about, or what I'm concerned about, is soda. If they don't develop sugar habits, drinkable sugar addictions, then the likelihood them of seeking out alcohol and that addiction is probably less as well. So that's what I'm trying to do in my kids, is I'm trying to break off a whole nother level of a cycle. They're going to come along with their kids, and it's not going to be pop. It's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be which foods they're eating. It's whatever it is, for that next level. It's kind of like an onion, peeling the onion off, but they will follow your steps. So kids need to be lifted, mentees, daughters, they need to be lifted onto our shoulders and then pushed to run in front of us. Okay. So again, I'm in the process. I'm kind of in this weird place where we use my father and my relationship there, where my dad was my mentor and is my mentor. But there's a lot of times when we become peers, when we're just talking back and forth and just in agreement with things. But there's also times when he's actually becoming my son, where I'm giving him advice and encouraging him on things and kind of pulling him along, right? so that then he can stand back on the foundation that I've had, whether it be nutrition, whether it be exercise and activity, whether it just be just daily habits and mindsets. I'm in this process of doing the same thing with my dad. I do the same thing with my brother, and he does the same thing with me. So we have developed these intense relationships where now things become fluid. It's not just that I'm in a role with this one person as their mentor, right? Jonah and I better not hey Sean, Jonah and I better not just be stagnant as peers, right? That's ridiculous, because there's times, like if we're talking about nutrition or fitness or just in life and raising kids and being married and operating businesses and that type of thing, where he might have this word of knowledge and this word of wisdom that he's given me and that affects me, right? I drop down into that I become the mentee and he's the mentor, right? But then there's other times when I have some knowledge and some wisdom and some guidance that we flip around. And that's just created over time. And I look forward to learning from you guys and what you have to offer, because that's part of the relationship that goes along with this thing as well. So, yeah, fathers, brothers and sons, mothers, daughters, sisters, mentors, peers, mentees, it's all the same. They're all interchangeable. You need to have, in my opinion, you need to have at least 3 of each almost at all times. And if you don't, then you're lacking in some area. If you're not pulling somebody along, then you're not potentially growing yourself as well. It's very hard to do that. If you don't have somebody next to you that's fighting with you and picking you up when you fail and when you fall down, then that's very hard as well. And if you don't have somebody that's on the other end pulling you forward and then turning and pushing you beyond them, that's hard as well. So it doesn't matter if you're 3 years old, 2 years old, or 100 years old. You need to have those people in your life at all times. And if you don't, start seeking right now. We have this great group of mentors on here, and we're going to be adding to the group here coming forward. And there's a lot of brothers and sisters on here as well. And there's a lot of people that are seeking guidance and wisdom. So the goal is, if you got guidance and wisdom, you see somebody asking a question on here, it's always positivity, right? It's always progressive. It's offer them some wisdom, offer them some guidance, offer them some hand up, right? Pull them along, and then give them the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding and the application, right? To be able to push forward and to run in front of you at that point. Because we're going to be changing worlds here, right? Justin's bringing on this thing of saying, hey, this is the Zavell Nation, right? Welcome Zavell Nation. And in reality, when Dahlia and that sort of thing, it's Zavell world, right? This is bigger than us. It's bigger than one drop in the pond. We're hundreds, and we're going to be turning into thousands of drops in the pond. So invite people to join this, to apply to join this group. We appreciate that. Go listen to all of our podcasts. We're going to be adding more here that we're going to be recording here really shortly. I have another 10 that we're going to be dropping. And that's the Zavell podcast, and that's on iTunes. So listen. And not just listen, but actually go through all those steps. Take the time to do the work so that you're healthy. Take the time to do the work so that you can be an effective mentor, you can be an effective peer, and you can be an effective mentee as well at the same time. That I got to take here. So love you guys. Peace. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.